What is going on, guys? It's your boy JR here. We are back with another video, and as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail and what you see before you right now, we have a comparison between the latest iPhone 16 Pro Max and Samsung's latest S series, the S24 Ultra. This is going to be a tough one right here, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. These two phones right here are probably the most powerful devices, in my opinion, that I have and that I love the most. If I had to choose between two candy bar style phones, honestly, I couldn't choose between these two. I would have to keep them both. If I had to choose between having a foldable and the candy bar style phones, I would default to the candy bar style phones because these right here are seasoned. These are some seasoned veterans in the game right here, and they've been refined to the plateau of technology as we know it today, or at least that's available to us. So anyway, if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, man. Let's get into it. Comparing these two right here, the first thing we're gonna look at, and this is coming straight from a average consumer standpoint, what we basically consider as an everyday person. You know, we don't really get into crazy deep specs and benchmarks and small refined details of photos and videos. We just know that everything is good on these devices when we have them, on both of these devices. So the first thing we want to take a look at is the pricing. For the iPhone 16 Pro Max at 256 gigs, it starts at $11.99, and for the S24 Ultra, we start at $12.99 for the 256 gig. Now, it continues to go up in pricing depending on what size storage you have. They have 256, 512, and the 1 terabyte version. If you happen to opt for the 512 version, it will be $13.99 for the 512, $14.99 on the S24 Ultra. If you happen to opt for the 1 terabyte version, you have $15.99 on the iPhone and $1659.99 for the 1 terabyte version on the S24 Ultra. So these prices can kind of vary, especially if you have a trade-in with Apple or with Samsung. I know for a fact that Samsung has great trade-in offers, so that's something that you definitely want to consider. I know for my 15 Pro Max that I traded in, I was able to get up to $650 for that. Now, if you happen to trade in, let's say a S23 or a Galaxy Z Fold 5 for the S24 Ultra, let's see, I'm going to scroll down here and just kind of take you through a little bit. So if you're coming from a Samsung and you trade in an S23 Ultra, you get $750, or S22, you can get $650. If you're coming from an Apple device with Samsung, you trade in a 15 Pro Max, you get $600. So Apple and Samsung kind of roughly have the same pricing as far as the trade-in values on their devices, but they can take things down significantly. And Samsung, if you catch them at pre-order, they'll double your storage for free, and the trade-in deals are crazy. So that's something to consider when you're deciding which device you actually want to purchase. The next thing we want to look at is the build quality between the two. Now, when it comes to the build quality, we have titanium on both devices. Samsung just jumped on the titanium bandwagon. Apple did it first, and we know that the purpose of the titanium is it handles heat a lot better. It's definitely more durable. So just taking a look at both devices here, honestly, you cannot go wrong with either one as far as the build quality is concerned. It's space grade titanium, and they can take and withstand any kind of beating that you give them. Not saying that they won't scratch or dent, because these are just coatings that they have around them, but you can definitely count on having these devices for a while and them working properly the way that they need to, as long as you're not like dropping, like doing jerry rig everything type activities on them. Yeah. As far as the performance is concerned, the S24 Ultra has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip, and the Apple is sporting an A18 Pro chip. The iPhone has 8 gigs of RAM and the S24 has 12 gigs of RAM. Now what that means in layman terms is basically you can have more apps open on the S24 at one time than you can on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Honestly, I don't really feel like the amount of RAM, I think 8 gigs is enough for RAM, because we all, have devices, have apps open, but that we don't necessarily close out. But I know a lot of people who close out apps on both types of devices, and it's just a natural thing, I guess, coming from devices that have less RAM. But 8 gigs is more than enough RAM for you to have on any device, and I think that you'll be more than happy. You can't give it, it's not a clear winner when it comes to RAM on this thing. You use the apps, you close the apps, and the phone fixes itself as it goes. Basically, that's what that is. Now, when we talk about battery life, is dependent upon how you use your phone every day. And that can vary from individual to individual. If you are a serious gamer, then each chip can definitely handle any types of game. In my opinion, the Apple A18 Pro chip handles gaming pretty good. But the Snapdragon is definitely not a slouch either. So it can handle both. And as far as the battery life is concerned, Apple just upped their battery life on the 16 Pro Max. But I know that the S24 Ultra has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery life, milliamp hour battery size, and Apple's is not quite 5,000. I don't know the exact number. I'll flash that across the screen if I can find it. But I do know that since I've had the 16 Pro Max, the battery has been great. And I know that the S24 Ultra, it has a decent battery life, but I think the size of the battery is not really what matters in this case. I think the software optimization has a lot to do with it when it comes to how these phones process and how they gauge how the battery will, decrease over time. With the iPhone being the newer phone, of course, it's going to have the better battery life because it hasn't been off the shelf that long. And the S24 Ultra, we're approaching this is the last quarter of the year. We're coming up on an S25 Ultra soon. So this one has definitely seen more game time, more time on the field as far as battery is concerned. So it's going to decrease a little bit faster. Not to mention the iPhone still has to learn usage patterns for each individual person. Next thing I want to talk about is the display for both of these devices. Now, the average person is going to look at these displays and they're going to say they look great. They both look really good. I don't see anything different about these devices. Everything looks great. Everything looks like it works great and fast. Everything swipes really quickly. There's no difference. Now, the S24 has 2600 nits brightness and the iPhone has 2000 nits brightness. As far as the smoothness, they both have 120 hertz. The iPhone gets down to 1 nit of brightness as well, so that's gonna definitely save on battery in low lit situations. But the S24 Ultra, in my opinion, looking at both of them, when I turn on the phones, when I unlock the displays, personally, I feel like the S24 Ultra has a much sharper and much more vivid display. I feel like the S24 Ultra has a much more sharper and vivid display than the iPhone does. But granted, I've heard over time, that Apple basically uses Samsung's displays. I still feel like Samsung does something different with their own personal displays. You gotta look at this thing, man. It kind of hits different, with the sharpness and the vividness. And of course, like with the colors, they have different settings that you can go into and change it from vivid to natural as far as the tones are concerned. But as far as the smoothness of each one, it's really, really quick. Samsung has apps that you can change and turn off the transitions and everything, so if you want to get there a whole lot quicker, you can do that. Apple does not quite have that yet. Apple is a little bit slow when it comes to customizations on these things, but they're coming. They're creeping up behind them. We're just getting RCS chat on these. Believe it or not, always on display was not always on the iPhone. And it's a couple other things that we're just getting. Being able to change your icons, a lot of that stuff just came with iOS 18. and you know, Android has just been blowing them out of the water with that. So Samsung's S24 Ultra has a pinhole camera, and Apple has the dynamic island. And when it comes to biometrics, I got to give it to Apple on that. The face unlock is unparalleled, unchallenged. It's so good, it's so clean, it's so fast. But that goes also to say with Samsung, their fingerprint scanner, the on-screen fingerprint scanner, is very quick. Hardly any errors, you know, unless you have like really sticky or wet fingers or something like that. As far as face unlock is concerned, on the displays and everything, I think that Apple definitely has them on that one. The next thing that's probably one of the most important things or important reasons why you're looking to decide to buy one of these phones is the cameras. These cameras, man. Now, I'm not gonna go through and show you a bunch of different pictures on each phone and how it is in different lighting situations and all of that, but I will say that as far as megapixels are concerned, the S24 Ultra has 200 megapixels on its standard camera, and the iPhone 16 Pro Max has 48 megapixels. Both have 5 times optical zoom on it. And I have to say, just because the Samsung has more megapixels does not necessarily mean it takes better pictures, because Apple's software and the way that it does its image processing with 48 megapixels, it is really killing the game. Really, really good. And honestly, I've always felt like Apple has had solid photos and videos when it comes to photography and video. I feel like they've always had really, really good picture quality. And Samsung, they have great picture quality as well. Like I said, the tones and the vividness of each photo, I think they kind of calmed down on that recently because it was just popping a little bit too much and it looked a little less natural. But they both take really good photos, both take really good videos. The Samsung can shoot up to 8K. Apple now has just jumped on the 4K 120 frames per second, which looks really, really good, but both of them have pro features that you can break down and get into. You know, if you're a real photographer and you want to break down exposure and ISO, you know, your different bokeh effects and everything, both devices are great for that. I cannot personally tell you exactly which one you should go for. If I had to choose, I can't really choose. I'm gonna be honest. I think I got both of them. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the OS. Now, the OS, I have to say up front, like, iOS, I feel like is probably the better out of the two. And I'm mainly speaking of that because of the ecosystems. When it comes to iOS and their ecosystem, everything seems to be so fluid. As I said in my last video, I've been on an iPhone since the iPhone 10. And the 10 caught my attention just because basically the phone changed. It didn't have a button, it didn't look the same. And now, you know, we're up to the 16 and it has been the same since the 10. Almost, you know, I mean, the notch has changed. Now it's a dynamic island. But as far as the OS is concerned, I feel like that's what's always kept me with Apple, because everything seems so fluid. Everything seems so smooth and seamless. I mean, from the phone to the AirPods, to the iPad, to the MacBook Pros, everything just seems to flow so smoothly. And when it comes to Samsung's OS, they do have things you can do the same with, but I just don't feel like it's as fluid as it is with iOS. I mean, that's kind of something that you kind of have to try. I mean, Samsung uses Windows. Anyway, so regarding extra features on both of these devices, both of them have great extra features I think will definitely shine for each his own. For the S24 Ultra, Samsung DeX has really been a game changer. This is just like having a PC in your pocket. If you have an HDMI cord to a USB-C, you can easily mirror or even use this as a complete separate desktop for whatever you're trying to do as far as work or personal related things. Not to mention, not only that, you also have an S Pen. The S Pen has been something that has really kept the S series lineup super relevant. Of course, we know that the S series adopted the S Pen from the Galaxy Note originally, which they may or may not bring back, which honestly I don't see why they would bring it back, since the S series has it. It's basically a Note. But I feel like the S Pen has definitely got a lot of features that a lot of people will enjoy. One being the fact that you can use air gestures to take pictures. You can set the phone up wherever you want, and you can swipe, and you can scroll, and you can take pictures, and all with a Bluetooth pen and a press of a button. And the fact that if you prefer to write notes, you can definitely do that, of course, as well. Samsung definitely has its great features as far as that's concerned. Now, iPhone has incorporated a couple different things recently that are still trying to solidify their position. I think one of the best things that iPhone has incorporated lately is the action button. I think the action button being able to be mapped to the flashlight, or you can create different shortcuts to open your garage if you want to, go to voice memos immediately, even open the camera, you know, something like that, I think is a really great addition to the iPhone. They also just recently incorporated the camera control button. Now, this camera control button, it is, we're still trying to, work it in. I mean, you kind of have to remember that it's there and what it's there for. It kind of makes you want to try to take pictures and use it to zoom in and change the tone and exposure and focus on special things. But I think it's a great feature. I do think it's a great feature to have. Now, I could talk about Dynamic Island, which could be considered an extra feature. Honestly, I don't think Dynamic Island is really relevant enough to give its own segment. I mean, Samsung has apps that can give itself Dynamic Island and have the same functionality. I don't know why Apple is just Apple. That's just what they do. They try to make stuff seem like it's new, and it's been out for forever. Moving forward to the last and final thing that I want to talk about, because this is a new day and age, and we're talking about AI. Both devices are capable of AI. The Samsung S24 Ultra series, not only S24, but the Fold series as well. Galaxy AI is here. It is on device. Google Gemini is here. You can use it right now. Apple Intelligence, the phone can do it, but it ain't here. Not really a whole lot I can say about it. Just relate back to the S24 Ultra, because the fact of the matter is that you can use Galaxy AI right now. It's pretty damn good. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I used it today. My S24 actually updated to it today, and some of the features where you can remove certain things and it fills in, and you can do the pictures and it generates different colorful pictures, and whatever you say, it'll just pop up. It's like right here, right now. So Samsung is killing the game in the AI at the moment. I know Apple has this thing coming. Apple Intelligence is on the way, but Apple, y'all, if you didn't want us to talk about it, you should have went on and brought it out, or got ahead of the game. So that's just point blank period. That's just how it is. AI is something that both of these devices are capable of. If you get an S24 Ultra right now, you can enjoy the AI features, and they'll probably be ahead of the game by the time Apple drops theirs. I don't know, maybe Apple's doing it on purpose because AI is just so new, but technically they're a year behind on the AI thing. I don't know. What is Apple doing? So that's pretty much everything when it comes to the comparisons, as far as what I have, as far as the comparisons of the S24 Ultra and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Overall, man, they are both great devices. You can't go wrong with either one of them. Now, you may have personal reasons why you may choose one or the other. If your family members, like kids, parents, aunts, uncles, majority of them have Android phones, and you may gravitate towards the S24 Ultra. If most of your family has Apple devices, and you're probably going to go with the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which I completely understand, and those are both very, very valid reasons when it comes to having a personal device. But you will not be disappointed with either one of these that you decide to pick out, if you do decide to pick them out. I'll leave links in the description where you can go and get both of these right here. And like I said before, Apple does have trade-in deals. Samsung has trade-in deals for whatever device you have. Depending on what carrier you have, it doesn't even matter what condition your device is in, they'll still give you a decent amount for your trade-in. I mean, I don't know what's going on. They're just taking whatever they can get now. But I mean, that's still a great thing. So if you liked the video, please hit that thumbs up button. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications, man. I see a lot of y'all are watching the videos, but you're not subscribed, man. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so I can get your opinion on things and we can figure out what we want to talk about and what we want to discuss. I can sit here and talk about this stuff all night, but I got to get up and go to work in the morning. So anyway, it's your boy JR. I will holler at you on the next one. Till next time. Peace.